Hey, Betsy. Good to see you too. Really good to be here. This practice is so incredibly helpful, and I'm noticing even when I experience resistance to it that just getting on the mat and doing something is better than nothing. I'm never sorry that I went to the mat, even if I just sit down, even if I just sit down and breathe and notice myself there, present, receptive, sort of humble and even vulnerable. It tends to be really helpful, really therapeutic. So thank you for being here. All right. Welcome. I'm Annie Moyer. This is Sun and Moon Yoga's YouTube channel. And today's short practice is called Everything Comes with a Twist. So as you might have guessed, we're going to be doing some twisting practices, some postures that typically are known for the twisting action, but also some that aren't necessarily known for the twisting action, and noticing how we can ground the body, provide ourselves with a steady anchor that roots us and stabilizes us, and then that sets us free to turn another portion of the body. And I hope that what we practice in the physical form will then inspire you to notice that everything indeed comes with a twist in terms of life experience, and that our best shot at surviving those twists is to turn our attention to the things that root us down and keep us safe. These twists that we have been encountering are pretty fierce, are pretty strong, and it's easy and understandable when we get carried away by them. I picture Dorothy in the twister, getting spun in her house around and around and around and around, and then she lands in Munchkinland, and all of a sudden, she's lost her way. She doesn't know that she's already home. And it takes all of the twists and turns of the yellow brick road to bring her ultimately to a place where all she has to do is feel her feet inside those ruby slippers and click her heels 3 times. And then there's no place like home. And we are always home, even if it doesn't feel that way, and even if it feels like the twister has lifted us off of our foundation and thrown us into lands unknown. It feels like that so much right now. So let's get into our home, into our feet, into our ground. So come to stand on your mat. And bring your heels really firmly into the floor so that you can feel yourself rooting down. Let some weight descend. Bend your knees a little bit. Let yourself feel like you are held from beneath you. Let yourself feel like there's something that's gently drawing you in. And then bring your awareness to your arms and start to allow them to just swirl and move around. And then start to twist the body. Let the alternating knees bend as you turn from one side to the other. And notice that there's a twist that's happening really all the way from down in your ankles, but the feet themselves are rooted. The feet are providing that remembrance of home, that sense of stability. Everything else is twisting. You can get into it as deeply as you choose, really swinging and swaying the arms around. Notice that you can turn your head. Just be careful of provoking a dizzy spell. So if you keep your eyes fixed on something, even as you turn your head, and gently come back to a steady stance, a rooted sense down through the soles of your feet. So let's change that twisting action a little bit and isolate it from the top. So at the neck is where we'll initiate the twist. So simply turn your head, and again, if a dizzy spell feels like it might be encroaching upon you, just find a spot out in front of you to fix your eyes on, even as you turn the head, right? The rest of the body is still. There's a rooted, anchored, safe, stable base. And now pause for a moment. Inhale, nice breath all the way in. Exhale, nice breath all the way out. And now bring your hands to the top of your pelvis. This might be the most challenging one. It is for me at least, where I'm going to twist my torso, but I'm going to be really cognizant of not letting the pelvis and down turn. So I'm just gently, carefully, strategically twisting. And it doesn't feel like much for me. It doesn't feel like I'm doing much of anything. However, I know, I can see in my reflection, I know that I am turning, and I can feel the challenge in my pelvis, legs, and feet to hold myself steady. My upper torso feels pretty free, pretty clear, pretty willing to turn with this gentle invitation into the twist. So the challenge is in the base. And I find that instructive because so often our awareness turns into what's happening, the twisting, the big action, and we get into it and we think that's where the challenge should be. But in reality, I do believe that the challenge is inherently in what's holding us safe and steady. And then the action that's occurring around that safe, steady anchor is light and free. Ideally, we hope so. All right, so now take your feet a little bit wider than your hips, like not a huge big stride, but a little bit wider. And pause for a moment, give a little bend in the knees, check your feet, and ask them to be parallel to each other, more or less, give or take. And now lift up from the heart center, take the arms up into a big, eager inhale, look up between your hands, and then exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward. And then bring your hands somewhere on your legs. I prefer the thighs above the knees. Choose a spot. You can also bring some blocks or a stool or something in front of you on which you can put your hands. From wherever you are, with the hands stable, leaning on the support of the legs or some prop, begin to turn the torso. And then notice that one knee may ask to bend a little further. And so you allow that. And you're twisting and you're turning, and then you can get your shoulders into it. Draw the one shoulder up and back. You can turn your head and take that deep rotation in the neck. Make it your own. The only rules here are that you, number one, feel some sort of freedom in some sort of twist. And number two, which is really the more important rule, should have been number one, is that you are aware and challenging yourself to stay present for the anchored, steady base. So you're never really leaving Kansas. You are just experiencing the consciousness of the twisting flow. It feels like a storm has kicked in and spun you around and landed you in lands unknown, but you know that you're never further from home than your awareness into your steady base will allow you. All right, so back to center, knees bend, turn the hips up a little bit behind you, dip down a little further into the fold, and now release the hands slightly lower. They can be either on your shins or your ankles or your feet or the floor, and take a little bit of maybe a deeper twist in the upper torso. The pelvis now and the legs and the feet are all remaining steady. Of course, you're aware of your breath and feeling the rise and fall of inhales and exhales. And notice there's a wish probably in the pelvis to turn and shift. And you can do that as long as you know where the steady base is. You can also ask the pelvis to remain stable and stationary and just emphasize and isolate the twist from the waist up through the crown of the head, including the chest and the arms. A couple more times to each side. And then pause at center and let your head dangle. And you may grab your elbows and let the spine hang, and then swing and sway gently, flowing. And then bend the knees a little more. Let the hips sink. Release the arms and then roll up, saving the head for last. Okay. Now take the feet a little wider and turn one foot out 90 degrees and kick the other heel back away from center and bring your hands to your hips. So wherever your pelvis is facing right now, keep it there. And however your legs are arranged, keep them there. Wherever your feet have suctioned down into the floor, keep them there. And turn the torso from the waist above through the ribs, the chest, the shoulders, collarbones, and then the neck and head if you choose to add that piece. And the next time you're turning toward your open side, so if you happen to be facing your camera or your screen, the next time your heart turns to face that direction, keep it there. And now take your arms out wide and reach out to the side and then tip down into triangle pose. So you'll feel the inherent subtle twist of triangle pose in the upper torso. And then you can notice and root down into the steady base from the pelvis to the legs to the feet. Now, soften the top arm and bring it down. And without shifting any weight or energy in the pelvis, just continuing to keep that steadiness, turn your heart down, turn it down, turn it down, and start to spin around to the other side. You can bring the opposite hand to your waist, to your hip, or you can Take the arm up, unfurling from the shoulder. And now side to side from a typical triangle to a revolved triangle. But nothing is turning from the pelvis down. Everything from the pelvis down through the legs and feet to the floor stays home. And the upper body goes off on its adventure, its adventurous twist. All right. And now release the top arm to your hip, hand to your hip, and then slide up to vertical and switch your feet to the other side. So notice which direction the pelvis naturally faces as you angle your feet sideways. The front foot is pointing to the short side of the mat, and the back foot has its heel kicked away from center just a touch. Hands to the hips, and feel the rooted, steady pelvis, the strong anchored legs, the stable rooted feet. And now bring awareness to the upper torso from the waist above and begin to invite it into a little twisting adventure, side to side. And then open to the open side, arms out wide. Reach sideways and take a triangle pose on the second side. Your top arm is the least of your concerns. So if there's any strain in the shoulder, just soften it, roll it around, give it some love, and then just leave your hand on your hip. I'll do it like this on this side. And now invite the twisting to happen. So turn the heart down, switch the hands on the leg, turn the chest to face the other side, and back and forth. And back and forth and back and forth. Breathing in and breathing out. And then the next time you face the open side, pause. Once again, root awareness into the feet and rise up. And then turn the feet back to neutral, so they're parallel to each other. And then big step together. Hands together in front of the heart. Let's take just a few sweeping breaths with movement. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift part way up, bend the knees a touch, lift the chest, look out ahead. Exhale, fold back down. Inhale, reach all the way up. Exhale, hands to center. And again, inhale, reach all the way up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift part way. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, reach to the ceiling, reach to the sky, look up above. Exhale, center. One more time. Lots of attention to how luxurious can you make the experience of breathing. Back to center and release. Turn toward the shorter edge of your mat. And then take an easy fold forward, bend your knees as much as you need to get your fingertips on the floor. Blocks under the hands always work well. And then step one foot back, and then release the knee to the ground. And now twist from here, lifting one arm, turning the chest, lifting the other arm, turning the chest. A few times, side to side. And then pause at center. And tuck your back toes and straighten your back leg. If you're using blocks, you can put them to the side. And find a way to get the front foot to step off and away and back into a downward facing dog. Take a breath here. Let it go. Take another breath here. Let it go. And one more. And now bend your knees and walk your hands back towards your feet. Just crawl backwards and roll up and turn to face the other side. And now step your other foot back. So you fold forward. Take the new foot, step it back, release the knee to the ground, and begin to turn and twist. Notice the stillness that you can cultivate in the pelvis, legs, and feet. The awareness and the challenge involved in what seems like doing nothing, while the upper body has all the fun. Really, the challenge is in the lower body. If we're being deliberate about striking a balance. All right, and then release. Tuck the toes on the back foot, straighten the back leg, and then find a way to get the front foot back into downward facing dog. So you can heel toe way out to the side and swing it around, however it gets you there. Take long, steady 3 breaths in and out. And then bend your knees and bring awareness to your hands and begin to crawl them backwards toward the feet. And this time, instead of rolling all the way up, we're going to come down to sit. Sit with one leg straight out and the other knee bent. And hold on to the bent knee. Hug it like you love it. And now, with awareness rooting down into the leg that is straight, start to twist toward the bent knee and away from it, side to side. And as you're ready, switch legs. Rooting into the straight leg so you feel the action of grounding to stabilize you as things turn from above. You might also have a nice awareness on the foot of the bent knee. So there's some involvement there in in the work of being anchored. One more time to each side. And then release. And now let's bring both legs in front to cross in a comfortable seat. You might bring a little blanket under your sitting bones. You might activate the feet a little bit by flexing each ankle so that the knees are protected by muscular energy and so that the base is steady and strong. Inhale, reach both arms up. And for our final twisting action, exhale and turn to one side. One hand comes down behind you, the other arm reaches across your lap. Inhale, reach up tall. Exhale, turn to the other side. And do this a few more times. So I'm repeating from side to side. You are welcome to go into the first twist and stay there for as long as you like. There are far fewer rules in this practice than it might seem. The rules are to find where you are secure and root through and into that space. And then know where you're free to explore and take your mind there with an openness and a willingness. And finally, and most importantly, be aware of every inhale and every exhale. Those are the rules. That's it. It's that simple. All right, so finish your next twist. Bring your arms down, float them by your sides. Take a little fold forward, a tiny bow from the crease at the top of your pelvis, and let the head hang. And then let the shoulders round forward and down a little bit, as if the shoulder blades are sliding off your back. Puff into the back of the mid-spine, and then slowly roll up nice and tall. Lean into your hands behind you. Now squeeze the shoulder blades together toward the spine. Puff your chest and heart up and forward. Look up above you. See what you see. And then come back to center. And then bring your hands somewhere comfortable on your lap. You might lower your eyelids or perhaps close your eyes entirely. Feel into your tall spine and your stable pelvis and your legs and feet that do the work of keeping you home and safe. And invite a sense of freedom into the heart center as you inhale and exhale. So that you know at a fundamental level that the universe will twist and turn you and it will take you places. But your core being is always rooted and safe, stable and grounded. Just a few more breaths. And then bring your hands back to the heart. Thank you so much for being with me this morning. I hope you have a lovely day. I hope you stay safe, stay grounded, and allow the world to spin you as it will. And always know that you can return home.